Well, hey there, silver scrappers. Any Scrap Sterling here, and today I wanted to have a quick conversation about um, how do you make the decisions that you make in trying to figure out what kind of sterling to scrap versus what kind of sterling to keep. And the thing is, if you do this long enough, as I'm sure many of you have, you come to realize that it's really incredible what people will throw away and put into a scrap sterling pile. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But there are some things that kind of fall somewhere in the middle where the item might be interesting, unique, maybe worth fixing if it's broken. And so I just want to go through the methodology that I use in determining whether or not I keep something as usable jewelry that I can either gift to somebody or trade into a jewelry store or whatever, or do I scrap it and turn it into one of my silver pours that I do. So here's my big bag of scrap sterling, and I'll just kind of dump it out and show you the types of things that are in here, at least, right now. So we have a lot of flatware. So silver spoons. I run across more spoons than I do knives and forks. But that's one thing that you can do. There's lots of bangles. Typically speaking, if the bangle isn't ornate, even if it's not, if there's nothing wrong with it, I typically scrap them just because I run into so many bangles. Then there's lots of chains that are either broken or just so thin that it's not really worth it to try to repurpose. But then you run into this kind of stuff. So this is a perfectly wearable brooch. Nothing wrong with it, but I just don't know who would want this. I'm sure there are people out there. And that's not to say that it's ugly or anything like that. It just means that it's more of a niche item that it would take quite a bit of time to find the person who would want this as a wearable piece. So things like this end up in the scrap pile, even though I'm sure, in other circles, somebody may think I'm absolutely crazy. Here's something else. Another little pin. And, it's seasonal. And it just, I just can't think of an immediate audience who would want this. And then there are some things like this. This is an old cane topper. Really cool. Old, for sure. But it has somebody's initials on top. And in terms of it being usable, I don't personally use a cane, and so you would have to find a very specific audience for this piece. And a lot of things kind of fall into that category. Now, sometimes I'll scrap anything that so like this is a belt buckle, very small belt buckle. But some of the stones are missing here, and so I'll scrap stuff like that. And by the way, if you disagree with my methodology, let me know in the comments down below. Maybe you have a different methodology that you follow, and maybe I'm missing something here, because sometimes I don't know everything about every piece, and so I'm sure that there are things that I have scrapped that that I shouldn't have, or maybe there was a way to kind of do something better with it. Here's an interesting bracelet. This is broken here, and you can see it kind of broke right there. And this has actually been repaired once before, because one of these linkages, I can't remember which one it is now, is different from the other linkages, like one of these little things. And it's magnetic, so somebody replaced it with a magnetic linkage. So before I actually scrap that, I need to remove that linkage. But that's kind of the approach that I take to my bigger stuff. Here's an old watch that no longer has. Well, this thing is pretty torn up. Little pieces of belt buckle and things like that. So that's my big scrap. And then I have my smaller scrap, which is this here. And this, I don't think most people would disagree with anything that shows up in the scrap bag. It's a lot of single earrings, a lot of really bent up pieces, incomplete pieces, broken stuff, really thin chains. It's quite a bit of sterling here, but it's a lot of just smalls that really don't have a place anywhere else. Okay, so anyway, that's the scrap side of things. But what I find kind of interesting is you'd be amazed at what people are willing to throw into a scrap pile and essentially throw away for melt value. So as I go through my pieces, I'll pick out things like this, this kind of like filigree thing that are just cool. Like this is a pendant or something. If I see it and it looks like it's crafted well, here's a little pin, I'll hold on to it. These, I run into these all the time. These like little people. I never know what to do with them because they're a dime a dozen. Well, they're whatever the scrap price is on them. But I run into them all over. And you have to test them because some of them, you have to test every one because some of them are made out of sterling and some of them are not. But, there's nothing wrong with them. They're these little pendants. But they're so I probably have 30 of them up here. And I've run into them in several locations. So they're so common that it's like I never know what to do with those. So I hold on to them for now. And maybe in the future I'll scrap them. Let me show you some other things that we have here. I'll keep big pendants like this. That's kind of interesting to me. I'll keep charms. So I have a whole bunch of charms up here, which I'm struggling to remove. But any kind of little charms I'll hold on to. Let's see if I can pull a couple out of here. Here we go. Let's see if I can just grab a handful of like little charms. I think they're kind of cool. Maybe a family member wants to build a charm bracelet or something at some point. Here's kind of like an interesting horse, a rocking chair. We have, here's a saddle. That's kind of interesting. A little saddle. So I keep that kind of stuff. And I'll occasionally keep screwback earrings if, there's both of them. And if they appear to be made well, I will. Okay, so then let's go to the side here. I run into a lot of necklaces. And there's a ton of them in here. And there's more on this side and on the other side of this jewelry box. There's more over here, too. I'll keep necklaces if they're a big enough necklace and in good shape. I also keep a lot of earrings as long as the earrings are complete and are just kind of like interesting. So here's like, a nice little crushed turquoise earring. Here's a nice pair of opal earrings. Here's some more like heart pendants and things like that. And like I said, this is all like stuff that's in really good shape that people they just kind of throw away. Here's an earring with an interesting stone in it. And I'm not an expert in any of this stuff. Like I'll put it aside if I think it looks interesting or whatever, but I've no idea what half this stuff is. So I'll hold on to that kind of stuff. I'll hold on to bracelets if they're nice. Like, who scrapped this? It's a nice bracelet, you know. Some of these need to be cleaned. Look at this one. Somebody scrapped that. This one I was really excited to see when it came through. This is very intricate. It has you know, leaves on it and pearls or faux pearls, I don't know. And then, you know, there's some bigger bracelets that come through. Yeah, so if it is an intact bracelet and just kind of interesting, I'll hold on to that kind of stuff. See if I can get this back in here. And then we have more bracelets in here. You know, like who scrapped that? It's just kind of, it's crazy to me. Some of these may fall into the category of ugly and may end up getting scrapped. Here's a tennis bracelet. Here's another tennis bracelet with a bunch of, I would assume, oh, that one's missing a stone. That's why that got scrapped. Huh, I didn't realize that until now. Here's, you know, some amber or whatever. Yeah, but really, like, interesting stuff. And so I'll hold on to this kind of stuff as long as it is intact for the most part and looks nice. And then this bottom box is actually the one that I find really interesting. I'll take that out of the way. This is some gold. This is 18 karat gold that somebody scrapped. It's a bracelet, fully intact. And actually, I have, let's see if it's around here, easily accessible. It's not, but I do have a scrap bag that I'm gonna turn in shortly here of a whole bunch of gold. Actually, oh, here it is. Yeah, let's see if we can show you here. Yeah, here we go. So I find gold in scrap all the time. And so this is ultimate, and I test it, and it ranges from 333 gold all the way up to 24 karat. And yeah, this is gonna get, that's gonna get turned into the local jewelry shop so I can buy more scrap sterling. Here's an interesting, here's like the one brooch thing that I held on to because it had a scarab on it. I just thought that was cool. This is kind of an ugly bracelet, but lots of sterling on it. Holy smokes. This, who threw this away? Look at this. It has, it's like an egg. Well, it's a pendant, but it's like an egg, and it has hummingbirds on it and some gemstones. Look at that. This is heavy. Solid sterling watch, and truly solid sterling. I mean, that thing is big necklaces. Yeah, there's some other stuff in here too. But yeah, it's just kind of fascinating to me. And if I'm being honest, I probably melt things that other people wouldn't. But that's going to be the case for everybody, right? Like there are some folks who have the opinion that, you know, you shouldn't melt anything down, that everything has history, and that even older jewelry, it can be fixed. It can be fixed. It can be fixed, right? Like, take a look at this. Take a look at that ring. It's missing some marcasite. And, I mean, if I were skilled enough and patient enough, I might be able to replace those, but it's just not worth it, you know, for me. I would rather melt it down and use the sterling to make something else. Let me show you one more thing. There's something I forgot to bring to this table, but there's one more thing that I want to show you that people scrap. Okay, we're back. Take a look at this. Actually, let me just open this real quick. The number of incredibly cool rings that I run into. I can't believe what people scrap as far as rings go. That one, obviously this one here is not sterling. That's a ring that's carved out of bone. But the rest of the stuff, you know, some of them are missing stones, but like that one, that I can see that one's missing a stone. But the rest of these, they're in good shape. I mean, it is all wearable jewelry. And it's just hard for me to believe that people would want to melt those down. But, you know, that was the decision they made, and I'm also making decisions about what to keep and what to melt down. So it comes with no judgment. It's just different people have different theories on that. Look at this ring. So cool. Right? That is just neat. And then I have one more box here. This last box is going to blow you away in terms of what I found here. Look at this. Look at all that turquoise that was going to get melted down. Here's a poison ring. Yeah, somebody's going to melt that. Somebody was going to melt this giant turquoise ring. Yeah, just incredible. Look at this one. This one has a lion on it. So when I run across that kind of stuff, I really like rings, and this is the sort of thing that I'll definitely save. You know, I hold on to this stuff, and I mean save from the melting pot. I ultimately will end up probably having to do something with these, because the rings, I find rings in every single scrap lot, and I can usually find at least one good one. So I know I'm going to run out of space, and so eventually I need to get rid of some of these, and that likely means bringing them to the jewelry store. And actually, now that I mentioned it, I'm going to show you one more thing that I do as I melt these things down. Okay, the last thing that I'll save is the gemstones from the various things that I melt down. So again, not an expert on gemstones, know nothing about them, but anytime I pop a stone out of a ring or a pendant or something like that, I'll put it in here. And I'm sure there's a lot of junk in here. You know, I'm sure that a lot of these are glass and cubic zirconias. Not that cubic zirconias are junk, but I just mean like not like a legit diamond or something. And then lots of different, but actually I'll show you what though. I mean, if I shine my, my red light on here, let's see if I can find something that'll, oh, here we go. Look at that. I mean, can you see that? Okay, it's not really showing up. Here we go. See that? That's a ruby. My understanding is that rubies glow like that. There we go. Maybe from the top it's better. Yeah, maybe from the bottom. Yeah, so there's some interesting stuff in there. I just need to figure out what the heck is in there. There we go. Now we're talking. I have the shades open too, so it's a little bit harder to see in terms of it actually glowing. Here's some more stones, you know, lots of turquoise and stuff like that. I just pop it into here. I wonder if anything glows in here. Oh, sure enough. Yeah, that thing glows. I wonder what that is. Probably just glass, if I had to guess. But yeah, really interesting. And then here's anything that kind of looks like a pearl or something. I'll put into here and save those. And like I said, I'm sure there's a lot of non-precious items in there, but since I don't know the difference, I just save all of it. And eventually I'll have somebody look through that, somebody who knows more about it than I do, and get their opinion. So anyway, YouTubers, thanks a lot for watching. Wow, this is a long video. Yeah, my first video got a ton of views. I think I'm up to like 700 views on that very first video. And then the second video kind of dropped off. I must have not had my search terms, as dialed in as I did for that first video. But leave a comment down below. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I've been making an effort to respond to everybody's comments down below, and let me know. If your methodology is different from mine, go ahead and let me know that. Or if you think that I'm a monster for melting any of this down, yeah, feel free to put that in the comments. I'm you're not going to hurt my feelings, and always kind of curious what other people think. So yeah, if you have a different opinion, I'd be very interested to know what you think. And for me, if I can make something interesting and beautiful out of something that's kind of been dinged up or lost its usefulness, that's kind of what I aim for. So I like to give pieces a new life. So that's what I like to do. So anyway, YouTubers, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.